guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video called Living with the Dark Winters is in Sweden, Midnight Sun and Polar Night. So I know that there's obviously places, especially like in the Northern Hemisphere, in the Scandinavian region, that they don't really get. I know there's places that I think only get like I don't know if they see the sunlight at all during the winter, or if they do, I think it's very little. And then there are some places which I think maybe this is like one of those regions where like the sun doesn't set sometimes at all. So it's gonna be wild living in those conditions. And I always wonder, how do people actually like do people actually live in places like that? And apparently they do, and we're gonna find out how exactly they deal with this. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
My name is Jonna, and I live in the north of Sweden.
The Northern Lights. Oh, but they have summer. So the summer,
Sweden
like, it's a summer.
It's a country with a lot of light. And it's also a country with a lot of darkness. It all depends on what season it is. Just like many other countries in the Northern Hemisphere, there is a strong contrast in the light conditions between summer and winter.
Okay, it's a contrast, but you do get the sunlight.
Almost all the time.
Oh my god, that's 2 p.m.
And in the summer, it's light all the time.
11 at night, okay.
During the summer, in the very
1 a.m.
north of Sweden, the sun never sets between the end of May until the middle of July. So you can see the sun 24 hours
That's
a day.
wild.
And that
How
is
are you able to
called the
sleep?
midnight sun.
The place is
And
beautiful.
then, during the winter in the very north of Sweden, it's the opposite. For a couple of weeks, the sun never rises above the horizon, which means that there's no sunlight for about a month. And that is called the polar night.
I think it's a bit of like careful what you wish for, because I'm guessing like during those winter nights where you don't get to see the sunlight in a month. So I think probably you're like, oh my god, what I do for like an hour of sunlight, and then it's like, oh, that's what you want. Then you get like the sun that never sets for a couple of weeks. It's like, oh my god, it's like I need balance. It's gonna be wild living like that.
These extreme contrasts in light is caused by the rotation of the Earth in relation to the position of the sun.
Those stars look incredible, and I have to say, obviously those kind of like skies with like so many stars, I think you can only see them in like places where there's like no pollution and like places that are like very far away. So it's like a bit of like, well, I'm paying the price. It's like, I get this incredible sky, but I have to live under these conditions.
And the further north you go, the bigger the contrast. I live in the middle north of Sweden, and if I'm lucky and it's a clear sky, I can see the sun above the treetops for about an hour during the darkest time of the year.
What's the place called exactly?
The middle of the day, and this is how high the sun goes up now.
It's like a sunset, but it's like
a little
12.
bit over the horizon, or over the trees.
But winters like this one, when it's been cloudy every day, I actually didn't see a glimpse of the sun for over a month. But just a few days ago, now in the beginning of January, I got to feel the sun on my face again.
I wonder, like, it's a sacrifice, but maybe it's not that hard, I think.
We see in over a month.
You see a month, maybe it's not that much. I don't know.
That feeling when you begin to feel the sunlight again in January is always overwhelming. It's like seeing
feel like
the
a
sun
vampire
for the first time in your life.
It's like, no, it's too harsh, the light. This place is gorgeous, though.
Even
like,
if it can be hard sometimes
stunning.
with these kinds of light conditions, I really
Sometimes,
love it,
always.
and I would never want to change it. I think the light is never as beautiful as it is during these most extreme times of the year.
It is beautiful lighting, and the place is gorgeous.
When it's summer, I usually change my rhythm and stay up all nights and then sleep in the forenoon instead.
You don't have a circadian rhythm.
Light
It's like,
is
do whatever
so
you want.
beautiful in the middle of the night, and as a filmmaker and photographer, It's like a dream to be out and capture the beauty of the bright
It's
nights
crazy.
of
It's
June.
2 a.m. and it's like, what? You might have waterfalls. Oh my god. Well, rapids, not waterfall. It's so pretty. It's gonna be so hazy living like this. It's
And
like,
then
what
in
time
the
is
winter,
it? No idea.
Even if we don't get so much sunlight, we at least get a few hours of twilight during the day.
It's
And
perpetual
that light
twilight.
is the most beautiful kind of daylight that I know.
That's nice.
It's like experiencing a long sunrise without a sun. And when it's a clear sky and the sun is rising just a tiny bit above the treetops, it spreads a soft and pink light all over the landscape.
It's
And
gorgeous.
that is beyond beautiful.
Yeah. It looks fake because it's so pretty that it's hard to believe something like this exists.
Around 3 in the day, it's already getting dark, and it makes the evenings feel never ending.
Yeah, you just want to sleep all day. But it's like it's day, it's night. I don't know.
But the darkness makes us see what is never visible in the light. Because actually, we do get sunlight from thousands of suns far, far away.
Those clear skies are incredible.
I live in a place where there's no light pollution, and the night sky is breathtaking. And for me,
It's like the
that
price
is one
you
of the
pay.
reasons that I really love the winter here. And
I think it's a good
knowing
sacrifice.
The sun sends us a greeting in the darkness. Particles from storms on
northern
the
lights.
surface of the sun comes traveling towards the earth, colliding with our magnetic field and creating the aurora borealis, the northern lights that dances in the sky. I can never find the right words to describe how much I love to stand under the northern lights on a cold and dark winter
I
night.
think I would be crying.
I can take the darkness any day, as long as I get to see the stars and the northern lights. It makes it all worth it.
I think it would be worth it for me too.
But even though there is so much beauty to find in these special kinds of light conditions that we have here in the north, I would lie if I said that it's always easy to live and adapt to them.
Of course
Because
it's
it's
not.
not.
It's hard. Yes, of course it's hard.
Well, the summer is easy. I don't think you can have too much light. The only thing that people often ask me is if it's harder to sleep when it's light all night. And for me personally,
No.
if I want to sleep during the night, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, of
And for
course.
those who do feel like it's a problem, it's
Get
easily
blackout
fixed with
curtains.
some thick and dark curtains.
Exactly. Oh, the dog is swimming.
But the winter and the darkness is definitely much more challenging.
Yeah.
And I can
you
only
don't get
speak
sun.
from my own experience now. The lack of sunlight makes me more tired, and during the darkest and coldest months, between November and March, I sometimes struggle to keep the energy up. It's
Yeah, I can
harder
see
to get
why.
up in the morning when it's dark
Of
outside.
course.
Our body naturally want to wake up with the sun.
I just want to keep
And in
sleeping.
the afternoon, I often get confused with the time, since the
It's like
darkness
it's time for
makes
bed.
it feel like it's much later than it actually is.
Yeah,
And
it's like
the
it's
lack
2
of
p.m.
daylight makes me struggle more as a filmmaker, since I only have 1 hour of good light to film in
Of
a day,
course.
compared
Yeah,
to
it's
the
hard.
24 hour of good light in the summer. So
Yeah, I
the
think it's more
darkness
less feasible.
combined with the
It's easily
cold make
fixable.
things a bit more challenging. And I know I'm not the only one struggling to keep up the energy during this time of the year.
Isn't this frozen? Why is she swimming in here? It's ice. What are you doing? You're freezing.
But of course, there's many things you can do to make the winters a little easier. I want to mention a few things that helps me adapt better to the lack of sunlight. For me personally, I think that the tiredness that I feel in the winter is the hardest part. The energy level is so low
Yeah,
sometimes.
you don't want to get up.
And the cure to that is not always to sleep more. It can actually be to do the opposite.
I would just sleep.
So I try
actually.
my best to keep being active and moving my body as much as I can.
Yeah, that's good
And
advice.
get as much daylight as possible.
Look, the
I
dog's
go for
struggling.
long walks
So
with my
much
dog
snow.
every day. And if the weather is good, I like to go out in the forest with my snowshoes and my camera.
This is funny that this is good weather. The weather is like
love
3
to take ice baths.
meters of snow.
It's something I started doing a few years ago, combined
Aren't you
with breathing
freezing?
exercises using the Wim Hof method. And it has become my favorite way of boosting myself with new energy when I need it the most.
This is
Going
way too...
into that freezing water
No.
is actually the last thing that my body wants to do in that moment.
Absolutely,
Putting
yeah.
myself into that kind of discomfort is awakening something in me that helps me reset my body.
Okay.
Believe it or not, but cold swims and cold showers has many good health benefits. It's not for everyone, of course, and it's important to get knowledge before trying an ice bath if you have never done it before. But for me, it has been a great source of energy and joy during the winter time.
I think the only thing this would be good for is like when you're exercising and you know your muscles are really sore, you can get like an ice bath because it helps like relax your sore muscles. So I think that would be like the only good situation I could think of myself, like, oh, I could do this, you know, when you're exercising a lot and you know your muscles are tired. But I don't know if like I would be that brave to do this in the cold winter of I don't know. This is crazy.
So, I really feel a big difference in my energy levels in the winter when I move my body in some way. It doesn't need to be a full workout.
Yeah, of course, just moving your body.
A little every day that makes you feel alive.
And active, because otherwise you're gonna just keep sleeping and you're never gonna get out of bed.
Get enough
Never.
energy from the sun. I think it's even more important to make sure that we get enough energy and nutrition from our food. Nature has so much to give us in the summer that we can harvest and save for the winter when we need it the most.
They do get a lot of
Here
like
in the
fruits and
north we have
vegetables.
plenty of berries in the forest. So I like to pick tons of blueberries and lingonberries and put in the freezer so that we can eat berries and drink juice from berries every single day
Oh
during
my god,
the
there's
whole
so many.
winter.
Okay, they have like a farm. Do they have electricity? Why is it all like candlelight?
I also like to pick different herbs that are good for our health and dry them to make my own tea for the winter. One
There's
of my
like a lot of
favorite
them.
teas to drink when it's cold and dark outside is simply made out of birch leaves. I pick them just as they begin to bloom in the spring, while they are still small and light green.
That's
And
nice.
the tea smells and tastes just like how it smells like in the spring. And
Hopefully they
in
have
the middle of
coffee as well.
winter, I think it feels so comforting to have a piece of the spring to remind you of the wonderful time to come when everything is blooming and the birds are singing again. And of
Oh,
course, I also take vitamin D supplements since we don't
Okay,
get
yeah.
anything from the sun in many months. Even though that would never replace the sun, I believe it can help a little bit.
yeah, I think the body's needed.
The list of
Like,
things
it's not
you
just
can do to
ecological.
handle the darkness is endless. These were just to mention a few, but I think that the most important thing of all is to accept and adapt to the cycles of nature. I definitely feel a big difference in the energy during summer and winter, both in nature and in myself. And that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, it's just different.
Yeah.
I think the winter and the darkness can cause a lot of unnecessary suffering when we are trying to force ourselves to feel the same as we do in the summer. It's
So just
okay to
adapt.
feel tired.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel lack of inspiration. And it's okay to need more sleep and to let things slow down.
Beautiful cat.
A flower would never force itself to bloom in the cold winter. So why would we? This way of thinking changed my way of dealing with the different seasons. I love
Yeah, it's
the
about
winters
adaptation.
just as much as I love the summers. They both have their own benefits and challenges. And I think it gets much easier when we let go and accept what we feel instead of fighting it, and accept the
great
cycles in
advice.
nature and the cycles in ourselves and learn to live with it, like a dance.
This is very autumn-like.
So, this is how it is to live with the light and the darkness in the north of Sweden, from my perspective. The extreme contrasts in light also creates a bigger contrast to the
That's a river,
seasons,
that's gorgeous.
and they all have their own beauty. I love the constantly changing seasons, and that you can see and feel how the light changes a little bit for every single day
This
that goes
clip is
by.
gorgeous. I love
The
the
beautiful
fog.
balance of light and darkness is my greatest source of inspiration, and it makes every day feel new and different.
Oh my god, everything's so orange. It's gorgeous. And now everything's white. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, this video was incredible. Like, it was so incredibly beautiful. Nights make you want to move, like, to, like, the remote northern Sweden. Which is crazy, obviously, because she speaks of, like, the hardships of what it comes to actually living in a place like that. I think you have to be, she mentions, like, it's not for everyone, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think you need to have, you know, you have to be in the right mindset. Not even the right mindset, I think you even need to have, like, the right personality for something like this. You know, it's gorgeous, and I'm seeing it, I'm like, wow, it's incredible, beautiful, and I'm sort of like, I want to move there, but, you know, would I actually want to live like that? I don't really know. I would love to go on vacation and visit like a place like this, but I don't know if I would actually, long term, I think, would I actually live in a place, you know, that's so remote. There's nothing, I can see nothing for miles. I'm surprised. I don't want to know, like, actually where, like, the city, the town she actually resides in, because obviously I wouldn't go visit. It's very pretty, but also how far is she from the actual civilization, because everything looks, again, for miles there was like nothing. And the fact that she could like see to the sky and see like all the stars, and you can see the northern lights, and especially like the nighttime sky, I think you only get that in places that are like quite far from civilization, like really smaller towns and smaller villages. So I am super curious to know how far is she from an actual store, an actual road, you know, actual, you know, buildings, and just the city in general, because it looks to be quite far. So actually, like, you have to deal with all the climate and weather conditions that you already are aware of. Like, you know, you have the midnight sun, the polar night, and all those stuff of, you know, dealing with the sun 24 hours or not dealing with the sun for a month. And besides that, you couple that with the fact that you're like so remote, that you are so isolated, that, you know, it's gotta be hard. I don't know if she lives alone. She's, you know, she apparently lives, you know, she shares her life with a cat and a dog, but I'm wondering if she also lives alone with like other humans, a partner, a friend, I don't know, like, does she have neighbors, or just at least someone that she can actually like talk to, another human being? Because again, if she lives alone with like, no, there's no humans for miles, that would be even wilder to me, because I think even when you obviously like a very social person, I don't think could do this. And again, I think maybe you're thinking, well, you know, I can definitely live like that. But I think once you actually get into, you know, you actually start living like this in a place that's so isolated, so remote, you have those like insane weather conditions that I think, even though you make the most of what you have, and obviously you're like, wow, I really enjoy this, I really love this, I've come to love this, but naturally our bodies, you know, just naturally as humans, we do have certain like cycles, and our bodies are gonna be craving sunlight, and it's a little bit unnatural to have like those long cycles of like 24 hours of sun or 24 hours of no daylight. That's not the natural thing for our bodies. So even though like if you like, no, I like it, and that's a separate story, but actually living in a place like that with all those that you have to fight like those conditions, even whether or not you like them, and you can say, yes, I love them, but your body actually you need some other things. So besides your own bodies, again, and you can maybe think of like, no, I'm like the least social person in the world, I wouldn't really care to live like that isolated. I think once you actually get to live like that for a few months, I think it can change your perspective a little bit, and maybe you're like, wow, maybe I do need some social like interaction because you're doing it on your own. So I think it's like even crazier imagining like even again, even if, you know, when you're living on your own and you don't really get like, wow, do I hear the sound of my own voice? Like, I haven't actually spoken out loud for a few, I don't know, days. Like this, I could imagine, and it feels weird. I can only imagine that to like a million times percent living in a place like this. You don't even get to interact with other people, neighbors, people on the street, people in stores. I don't know, just because everything is like, unless you actually have to make, I have to call you and you call someone just because I haven't actually spoken out loud in like a month. I don't know, it's gotta be crazy. And again, she lives on her own. That then to me is like a little bit wilder, because how do you deal with that? It's feeling of being so isolated. And even if you have someone, I think it's still like, you guys are in your own little bubble, and I don't know, like again, you're not interacting with like the outside world. And I think it can feel nice for a few weeks, for a short amount of time, because you're like, oh, I want to be, you know, it's like taking a vacation where you're like, I don't want to know anything about the world. I just want to be, you know, in my own bubble. And again, it can feel very nice, but again, eventually I think you're gonna crave that, you know, and we need to go outside and, you know, interact with other people, interact with, I don't know, like other things instead of just all nature all day long, which I don't know, maybe that's just my perspective. Maybe I'm totally off and some people don't really get that, and you're like, no, I can spend a whole year like this and without needing any social interaction. I'm in my own bubble and I'm fine, and you know, just nature and nature and nature. I think it would be, because again, it's gorgeous, like who wouldn't want to live like this? But I'm imagining something like this long term, because it's like, it would be incredible to actually spend a few weeks there, but would you actually live like this, you know, like for a year, 2 years, 3 years? Because I think it could be a little bit overwhelming as well, which I think it's maybe a little bit crazy for me to say. But, you know, some people may feel a bit overwhelmed by, you know, the city, because it's like, oh, you have the cars and pollution and there's people, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But just as you feel overwhelmed by that, and, you know, the I don't know, like the stuff that happens in like your daily life living in a city, and that can feel overwhelming, and that's why you need a vacation. And you're like, wow, I need the nature. And yes, completely understandable. But I think the opposite actually can happen as well. When you're surrounded by this kind of like nature, and it's not just like a couple of trees or a wood. It's like, no, you're literally like, I don't know, in the boonies, in the middle of nowhere. There's like wood, there's like trees, there's woods, there's rapids, there's mountains, there's just like, and there's no civilization for miles. That can also get overwhelming, because I think it can maybe like, you maybe start thinking of like, well, how small are we? Nothing. I think, at least I think I would be, and I'm probably not alone in this. I would start thinking like nothing, like, wow, nothing really matters. Like everything's meaningless. We as humans, like we are such a like short, I would get very existential. It's like, there's like nothing really, who cares? Like nothing matters, because look at all this incredible thing that surrounds us, and all this incredible nature that surrounds us, and it's been here for thousands and millions of years, and we're just like, we're nothing. We're here for like less than 100 years. So I would be very like, I don't know, I think I would get, I don't know, maybe existential, maybe I would get depressed. I don't know, maybe not depressed, but maybe I think maybe it wouldn't be good for my mental health. Maybe, I don't know, that's what I'm thinking, because I think you can, again, doing this long term, I think it can get pretty overwhelming. And just the fact that like, again, you're surrounded by these incredible, like those mountains, and again, it's beautiful, and you can do it for a short amount of time. But I think maybe eventually you start to crave like other things. So I don't know, like props to her. I would love to know like how she came about to actually live in this place. Like, is she from Sweden, and did she actually grew up in a place sort of like similar to this, or was she like, no, I grew up in the city and I decided to like move and get, you know, this lifestyle? Because it's not just, again, it's not just like you're moving, like you can move, and like I can move anywhere. It's like you need, again, this is like very specific. It's like you're so out of everything that you need to have, you know, a complete like lifestyle reset of like, no, I'm changing my whole lifestyle. I'm changing everything about me, because it would be crazy to live like this. And again, it would be nice, but I think for like a month, I don't know. But I think it's very beautiful what she said of the whole, I think we can't force things. And it's like, sometimes I think it's a good piece of advice, not just for her situation, but just in general, it's just like, when just as she said something about like a flower like wouldn't try to bloom like in the winter, right? So why you as a human being also trying to like force certain like circumstances, and you're probably stuck in that mindset of like, oh, things shouldn't be like this, or I shouldn't feel like this. And it's like, no, give yourselves like she said, it's space and time. You just need to adapt. If this is the current situation that you're experiencing, then again, try to make the most of it, and everything's temporary. Like the seasons is like, in 6 months, maybe you're not going to feel like that. Your circumstances are going to change. So it is a thing of like, again, adaptation, and also being aware that there's like a time and place for everything. So you need to actually make the most of what you have with what you got in that particular place and that particular time. So if this is the time of like, well, I'm not feeling too great, it's like, well, let yourself feel it and experiment and experience that. It's like, maybe you're not feeling too great, but it's gonna pass. Like everything comes around, everything passes, and you just need to give yourself a little bit of grace and let yourself experience that instead of like forcing it, of like, no, it shouldn't be like this, like it shouldn't. It's like, no, you're fighting against nature. And that's, I think you can liken that to like the flower metaphor of like, the flower's not trying to bloom, like it lives in its own cycle. So why are you trying to force it? It's like, no, I think it's a really good piece of advice. And yes, I wanna learn actually where she lives. And yes, I'm very curious about that lifestyle. But yes, I would definitely go to visit. Like after saying all of that, it's like, yes, but I would definitely go visit this because it's incredible. And I think again, I would just weep. I think I would just cry if I ever find myself in a place like this and just surrounded by all that beauty. I think I would just cry. That would be my first impression. Then I think I would get used to it. But first, like my first impression, I would just weep because everything's so incredibly beautiful and you're surrounded by all these incredible natural beauty that I think, again, you're overwhelmed. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't help but cry. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.